Welcome to the Morning Mist 99 Above and Beyond Schizophrenia. It's where we're coming from, it's where we are, and it's where we're going above and beyond. Now, I want to talk about something that came to me while I was running. That was yesterday morning, and I thought it was very interesting. Right, running is good, exercising is good, and it's something that whether it's running or doing any other kind of physical exercise, I think it's a very good thing, and it's good for your mind, your mental health. It's good for your physical health, and I would recommend anyone, get some exercise into your life. A part of Make that a part of your recovery process, your health care needs, and or see it as that, and part of the package, the healthcare package that you have for yourself, because it's a very good thing. And anyways, I was doing some running, and it came to my mind when I did the 10K run, my first 10K, and I, I had this idea. I'm gonna do my thing. I'm not gonna, worry about anybody else. It's my first time, so I'm gonna take it easy, just kind of manage myself well, and finish right. And I ended up getting caught up in the energy of the place. Right, there's so many people there, and everybody's there to run, and and it was just a certain energy that I wasn't prepared for. Right, so I got there, and the race started, and I got caught up in the energy, and so I started running. And I think when I saw that I had 8 kilometers, I think it was 8 or 6 kilometers left. It says I think it was 6 kilometers to go. I was like, what? I felt like I just ran 8 kilometers, and you're telling me I got that much more to go, and I almost gave up right there. But I realized I got caught. I got caught up in everybody else's pace, and because of the energy, and I kind of exerted myself too much, and now I don't have enough energy to finish. Right? So that came to me yesterday morning, and I was just thinking that and I touched on this a little before, but there's that energy that uh, everything has, right? Um, there's an energy of your home, right? There's an energy in your home. There's an energy uh, in your classroom in school, if you're in school. There's an energy in the workplace environment, uh, respectively, right? And there's an energy within music, right? So let's say rap music, rock music, pop music, dance music, all this music, there's a certain energy to every type of music, right? There's an energy, a nation has a certain energy to it, a community might have a certain energy to it, right? Different communities, right? So what happens when people come together, uh, and that energy kind of it gets stronger, and people now start to reflect that same thing, right? This is why you go to a sporting event and everybody is in that same mindset, right? It's like hockey fans are going to act a certain way. They're going to act, you know what I mean? Even though there's a general sports energy, each sport itself has its own energy, right? And the people are going to act a certain way, right? And it's more so when they're in a group, right? This is where things get electric, right? This is where people starts to get rowdy. This is where, you take certain, if you notice, when you're young and you're in a group, you tend to, there's more likely you get in trouble than if you're by yourself. Because when you're in a group, there's a certain energy that uh, that prevails over the group, and sometimes you may not want to or intend to do something, but because of the group energy, you end up going along, and then you end up getting in trouble, right? So there's this whole energy, right? Like it's like, and people have a perception of certain groups because of that energy, right? Um, so when you look at a certain cultures or something, there's a certain image it invokes, right? And that's that energy that we may see this on a certain level, and it doesn't mean every single person is off that, but in a general sense, this is what it is, right? And we can see this in many instances, right? And it's the same thing with sickness or mental illness or like schizophrenia or schizoaffective or the whole schizophrenia spectrum. Uh, there's also the bipolar. There's the autism spectrum disorder. There's a whole energy associated with each illness, and tell you can tell this because it doesn't matter where in the world a person with schizophrenia is, they're going to share similar symptoms, right? It's not going to be the exact same things, but we can identify it because it's going to make them all act in a similar manner. It's going to present itself in a similar manner, right? Just like how it doesn't matter where in the world you are, rap music is gonna the people that embody rap music are gonna all act the same. The people, doesn't matter where in the world they are, that embody rock music, the energy of rock is gonna all portray itself, displays, manifest itself in a similar way, right? So that's the energy of the thing, right? It's just it's people open themselves to this, and it now expresses itself through them, right? And with mental illness now, it's the same thing, right? With now the thing that I wanted to talk about is not so much the energy of schizophrenia, because we know what that is, but it's more so the group mind aspect of it, right? Because just like how when I went jogging or that 10K, and I allowed myself to get caught up in the pace of everybody else instead of being mindful of my own presence and my own self and staying within myself and running my own race. Because if I'd done that, I would have managed my energy better and I would have finished better. I finished the race, but it took a lot. And it's similar when you see. But what I'm saying is that everybody must be mindful to not get caught up in the energy of everybody else, right? So uh, especially if you don't necessarily want to follow the group, if you want a different outcome, you can't allow yourself to be led by the energy of the group, right? The same scenario where I mentioned earlier, where you might be young people or whatnot, and you're going out where it's place to a party in a group, and then uh, trouble starts, right? And you end up following and getting yourself in trouble because the people you're with start to emanate a certain energy, and you get caught up in it, even though that's not what your intention was, right? And and then that just leads you down a path of destruction. And I was watching a video the other day with an officer, how he got in, you got an old senior officer with a junior, and they had a call to a Walmart, and they gave a description of the fella, and the officer went there, and the senior officer, and they saw somebody that is not of the same ethnicity as the person description, but they went and uh, started questioning the person to begin with, and the junior was like, but he looks nothing like the description. But he went anyways. The junior guy went, and the senior guy let him, and they went and talked to the guy. The guy got upset. But what happens though, like, it didn't lead into any kind of big incident, but you can see sometimes how young officers are on the force, and when they're in a group and things move so quick, and they get caught up in the end, even though they know better, they get caught up in the energy of the situation, and their superiors, and before they know it, even if the superiors are wrong, they're going to be wrong with them, right? Because they aren't mindful of themselves, and set their mind to maintain themselves. And so because they don't do that, they get carried away, and they only come to themselves afterwards, thinking about what they should have done, right? So that's how this stuff can work, and it can pull you into trouble and have you following something that you ought not to follow, right? And so you have to really be mindful of your own energy, what you want to do, where you want to go, and then you have to set your intention in that direction. Because if you don't, if you'll get carried away in other people's energy, or in the energy of the illness itself, because that illness, it has a certain energy, and it's going to try to reflect itself through you. It's going to try to manifest itself, to express itself through you. So you have to recognize that and say, this is not what I want. So you got to recognize yourself in the midst of all of that, and then determine what you want for yourself. And now there's going to be a clash of energies. Yours, the energy that you want to reflect, versus the energy that's trying to reflect itself through you. So it's going to be two opposing forces. And so the mind has to recognize this and set its intention on what it wants to pull in to express itself, right? So that's more healthy and stable mindset, right? So, but there's a problem when we have a community that elicits a certain kind of energy, and it's not productive, right? It's not productive because this energy, it's more consistent with the energy of the illness that wants to expressing itself through you, right? So it marches in line with that, and it syncs with it. And so when you are, this is one of the reasons why I was never, before I got through schizophrenia the way I did, I did not want to align myself with any kind of group or organization or so forth like that, because I understood the mindset of people who have chronic illnesses. I realized, they never, I did not think that they saw this as I would. And so I wouldn't be a good match for that. You know what I mean? I didn't want to get pulled into that kind of energy that expresses something contrary to the health that I wanted, right? Because a lot of time people with chronic illness, they no longer possess the mindset of being well. It's more in line with, this darkness is my destiny. This is what I am. This is what I will be. And that is reflecting, or the illness, expressing itself. right? And so that's the energy that the mind has accepted and it no longer resisted, right? So uh, this is what happens when we have these or can happen when we have these groups, these when you have a community with that same sickness, and instead of people uh, challenging that that type of energy that's presented uh, 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 by the illness, they accept it, and then people go there looking for consolation, and they end up finding people who understand them, but also not in a way that can help them move forward and get beyond this. Rather, it's more in a way that is accepting, and accepting is all right, but you got to be careful about that. There's a nuance there, right, of how you gotta what accepting means, and yet accepting yet not accepting at the same time. So there's a little space for understanding here. So, but what I'm saying is that these groups get people to pretty much come acting just like them, and what is chronic remains chronic because that's what their minds have accepted as the group, and their group is about how to how to accept this and how to continue with this, you know. So now you're no longer running the race in a way that you would want to run it per se. You get caught up in the energy of everybody else. You get caught up in the energy of the community, the schizophrenic community, let's say, you know, or the autism community or the cancer community, right? So it's like you got to know what you want out of life, and you got to set your intention to that and move towards that, and not necessarily to the beat of the rhythm of the community, because the community is going to be of a certain energy, and maybe that's not what you want to express, right? If you want to express something better, something greater, if you want a greater hope than what is given to people diagnosed with schizophrenia, you cannot bind yourself to a community, right? It's okay. I'm not saying you shouldn't be, associate within the community, but you have to have the presence of mind to know what you are. You have to filter your thoughts through something that is more aligned with the direction you want to go, rather than just accepting all the things you're told, right? Because my state, for myself, if I had accepted all that I was told, I would not be where I am today, right? But I had to see something different than a community, than a common consensus by the doctors that this was a impossible for me to recover illness, incurable, or whatever the heck they want to label it as. But I rejected all that they were trying to unwittingly trying to match my thoughts and my attitude and my acceptance with that of the illness itself. See, they don't understand what they're doing. They're ignorant of this part of it. All they understand is the biochemical aspects of it, but it's deeper than that, right? So with my mind, I would sync with the energy or the rhythm of the illness, the frequency. And so once I do that, it's got me. I can't go beyond that, right? Because now I'm going to speak what it wants me to speak. I'm going to think how it wants me to think. I am just dancing with it. You understand? I am dancing in unison. You see? So it's about breaking out of that dance, breaking that rhythm, and finding something else for myself, a different rhythm, right? And my rhythm has got to beat at a pace that kind of overtakes this other one, right? Because this is within me, and I have the power to do that. It's just, how do I do that, right? And once I can fill myself with enough of that, there'll be no room for that other energy to have any kind of rhythm, right? And so, but when you're in a group, it becomes more difficult if you aren't aware and are mindful of what you allow and you accept into here, because people, because they don't understand it, they actually they unwittingly kind of go to that same flow off the energy, off the schizophrenia. Like, so the schizophrenia will beat at a certain rhythm, and then the people don't aren't thinking, but based on their words, based on their thoughts, based on their attitude, they start to sync up, and they'll start to beat to the same frequency, the same rhythm as the illness, and they match. This is why they can't break out of it, right? So you gotta, once you're able to perceive that, and I'm not saying to that I got the answer, that you should sync up with what I'm saying. You got to find out what's right for you. So you've got to run the race. I'm just saying, be mindful how you run the race, that you don't get caught up in everybody else's pace and burn yourself out as a result. You got to determine how you can manage what works for you, and then you got to find out what's in you to give and what you're willing to fight for, and whatever it is, whatever outcome you want, you have to determine that for yourself, and you got to align your intentions to that. But because if you say you want one thing, but yet you are aligning with something that is not going to give you that outcome, that's not your pace. That's out of your pace. And yet you're running the race in somebody else's pace, the group's pace, or whatever the heck it is, wherever you get that from. So you got to determine what is your pace, what do you want, and move towards that with an intentional mindset, and an attitude, and the words and the thoughts, and all this got to align, because that's how you change your rhythm. That's how you change your frequency, right? And that's how you overtake that of whatever you're struggling with, whether it be schizophrenia, schizoaffective, bipolar, whatever all this stuff is. Everything is that's the nature of this, right? Everything is energy. The food you eat is energy. Your body is energy. Matter is energy. Everything is energy. Music is energy. Your television programs are energy. Radio is energy. Everything is energy. The water you drink is energy. The juice everything is energy. Yeah. So it's like, how do you have to learn to match up your energy with that which you desire, right? And then that's kind of how you kind of shake things, or or get the things that you want, right? So anyway, hopefully this makes a little bit of sense. I don't really have notes, but I do want to maybe take more time to write some notes, but so I can actually have my thoughts more organized and so forth. But anyway, hopefully this makes sense, and let me know what you think, man. Let me know if you have these kind of thoughts, if you understand what I'm saying, if you don't understand it, and yeah, how I can be clearer or whatnot. Let me know what you want. So anyway, until next time, later.